Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please?
Are you ready? Are you ready?
Yo, what up, what up? It's your boy Rabino.
And this DJ in the building.
And you listening to the UpNUp Podcast.
Yeah.
Wait, what are we doing?
I don't know, just listen.
Yes. Welcome.
What it do?
Ladies and gentlemen, you're tuned into the UpNUp Podcast. I'm your host, Rabino.
And it's DJ man.
DJ man.
Freezing.
Yeah, it's cold,
Yeah,
right?
hella
It's
cold.
cold out here in these streets.
Yeah.
You didn't even ask me how I was doing, man.
I know.
You said
how
you was going to
doing?
start doing that.
Yeah, because I thought you were going to ask me, so I
Okay,
had to
well,
beat you to it. But how you doing?
I'm doing well, man. I'm
All
doing
right.
well. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling blessed.
sure.
Highly favored, man. For those of you first-time listeners, this is the UpNUp Podcast. This is the podcast where, we strive to cultivate the culture. And we do that through providing amazing stories of individuals, groups, movements, man, powerful movements out here and trying to share those stories, right?
Yeah.
And keep everybody on the up and up.
Yeah, always.
It's a lifestyle, man. It's a lifestyle. It's a way of life. Now, obviously, I always want to shout out the listeners. Always got to shout out. They're like family to us, Really, seriously, like they're like fam, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want to shout them out. Shout out to all the supporters. Shout out to all the viewers, man. Thank you for what you're doing for the movement, for the culture. Let's keep this going, man. We ain't stopping anytime soon, right?
Can't stop, won't stop.
Can't stop, won't stop. Or the Diddy. Now, also do want to point out, if you want to continue supporting this podcast, you know what to do. Make sure to rate, subscribe, review, and like it too.
And like it too. Yeah,
Yes. You can catch all our episodes on YouTube, SoundCloud, and iTunes. Just type in the UpNUp Podcast, and that's where you can find it. Also, make sure to follow us on all social media platforms at _ the UpNUp, so you can stay tapped in with everything we're doing. We got some amazing things on the horizon.
Oh, man.
Oh yeah. Definitely. And also, last but not least, obviously, I'm gonna just keep reiterating. We got these fresh AF.
Go ahead. Say it.
Limited edition Cultivate Culture dad hats. If you guys do want to tap in and find out how to purchase that, go ahead and just hit us up at _ the UpNUp, and we'll go ahead and get you right.
Mm-hmm.
Online store coming soon.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, if you're a consistent listener, you already know we bring the heat when it comes to these guests, right?
Yeah.
Right? Always, man. Always. Everybody's story, everybody has a story, I should say, and no two stories are the same. And that's just a fact, And today's guest, I would say, is a man whose life experiences have shaped him into the type of positive force this world needs to see, right? An example of what that means. I'd say he's a young creative who's keeping everything he's doing on the up and up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, otherwise he wouldn't be with us tonight. To me, and from what I've been able to notice, and from what a lot of people have been able to tell me about this man, he's a true poet, a true community organizer, and a hip hop artist whose music has no limits on his reach, like literally no limits, right?
Yeah.
He's making music that's been able to grace stages across the globe, right? Not just here in Seattle, but just to name a few, stages he's been able to grace. Some in South Africa, right? Not just Africa. We can go to Australia, okay? Not just Australia, but we can go to Malaysia.
Ooh,
we going, we moving, we traveling. You see how we crossing the globe, and many more countries, which we'll get into. And with the release of his debut album dropping this month, December 12th, titled 1212,
Hey.
he's here with us today to have some real good dialogue about why people should go listen to that album and why people should support this brother. I'm going to just get straight to him, man. Our guest is none other, I just made this up, than the Moroccan mastermind and culture cultivator himself, Essam Muhammad. Can we get a round of applause for my brother? Yes, sir. How you doing, fam?
Yeah, man. How you living, man?
I'm living good. I'm living my best life.
Yeah.
I'm living my best life.
We trying.
Everybody,
Always.
all y'all living your best
Feel
lives?
me?
I straight up, man.
Yeah, man. Thank you for coming to the show, though, man.
Thank you for inviting me, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Appreciate it. Now, if you're familiar with the show, we usually start it off with a quote of the day. Just something to kind of get the vibe right, get the mood right, get the conversation's tone set. And, we got Quote Man across the way right here. So, Quote Man, what you got for us today?
All right, so the quote of the day today is, we're always in the middle of two energies. Gravity is sinking you down, and inspiration is pulling you up.
I'm going to tell you to run that back. No, that was
Yeah.
Go ahead. Run it back.
Quote again is, we're always in the middle of two energies. Gravity is sinking you down, and inspiration is pulling you up. Yeah.
Mm.
Mandy Ingberg, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Shout out to Mandy.
Yeah.
That's a dope quote, man.
It is.
Where you be finding these
Man,
quotes?
come on, man. I can't give up the plug
I
like
know,
that,
man. I know, but you know what? That's a really good topic to talk about because, so you know, we bring in these quotes, bro, because we always want to have something that can tie into your story, right?
Yeah.
And our guest story, and whoever comes up here, and having that, I guess that balance, right, of inspiration, but then also something pulling you opposite of that inspiration. Is something a lot of us go through, right?
Yeah.
So we're gonna get into everything you're currently doing, and you're doing a lot, and you've done a lot. But we also want to make sure that when people listen to our guests on this show, they get a chance to understand the humble beginnings, right, and how they got to where they're at now. It's not all about the final product; it's about how you got to that. So talk about kind of your upbringing. Where did you grow up, and how did that kind of shape, the way Essam is now as a young man?
Yeah. So I was born in Morocco.
Okay.
I was born to a single mother, and when I was about 6-7 months old, when you're a single mother in the community, there's always negative talk about did she even get married? How did she got a kid without the husband? So she got kind of fed up, so she decided to go look for my biological father. She went to Italy where they met for the first time, right? And the first thing that he said when he seen my mother and I was like, "What you doing here? I didn't tell you to come." Right. So when I first heard the story, I was like, "Damn, that kind of sounded like a movie," This is how everything kind of panned out. So he took us in the middle of nowhere. It was like in Italy in an abandoned house, and we was there for like 3 months. To the point where I was getting diarrhea, I was getting sick because we was eating canned food and eating the fruits off of the trees. Even to the point where I started interacting with like the animals and playing with the rats and imitating the pigs, And it got to a point my mom was like, "Yo, if it's life and death, I gotta get out of here." So she just started walking, and she ran into it was like a community center. It was like a bunch of nuns, and she told them the situation. And she knew she had a sister in Seattle, and she had an address with, I think it was like $100, like a little bit of money that she saved for emergency in her socks, right, to the point it got sweaty, And they were able to situate her to come out to Seattle. I was about 1 year old. Touchdown Seattle, and my mom didn't really speak English, so she was able to give the address that she had to it was like a driver or something like that, and they got to this address, and this old lady opened the door, and she was like "Who are y'all?"
Yeah.
And she was like, I'm Bushra's sister, my aunt.
Yeah.
And she was like, I come inside. And then she went, she called my aunt, and then she was like, "Yo, this lady is claiming to be your sister, and she got this little kid." And she was like, "Yeah, that's my sister, and that's my nephew. Tell them I'm gonna be there first thing in the morning. Scoop this up, whatever." Months down the line, my first cousin, I was staying with my first cousin who was a lot older, around my aunt's age, and my aunt, I was staying with them, a few of my aunts actually, and it got to a point where my first cousin wanted to move in his girlfriend, so he was like, "Yo, y'all's gotta get yourself situated, So so we was homeless from that point for some time. And we were staying in a single mother shelter. I believe it was like in the north end or something like that.
Okay.
And down the line, there was like this religious leader who found out we was in the Muslim community, who found out that we were staying in that shelter, and he was able to take us out. And I think I was about like 2 years old and some months. And my father, my stepfather, married my mother. They got plugged through this. It was an East African family. From there, straight to South Seattle, Holly Park. I'm talking about before New Holly, when it was called Holly Park. The 1-story houses, right? And it was like 9 of us in a 2-bedroom household.
Yeah.
we was living there for until the the renovation when they broke down the Holly Park and they built New Holly.
Yeah.
The whole gentrification and everything like that. And I remember it was Shade for Black. So I still remember the first time we moved into New Holly, right, from Holly Park when they broke down everything. New Holly, right, and that's kind of like, that's not where my story started, but then I remember that vividly.
It's a moment.
I remember, my stepfather, he was like, yo, we're going to our new house, and I was like, where's mom at? I think I was like 6 years old, something, I forgot how old I was, and then he was like, oh, she's at the new house, right? And I remember clearly, we was entering through the backyard, and I mean, just from there, I was raised in that neighborhood, and it came with a lot, right? Just growing up in that environment, right? On top of just even never meeting my father, right? For most of my life. And
was that something you were asking questions about early on as a kid, or did it even come to your mind to ask your mom about that? I
never spoke to my mom about it. I remember I used to convince myself that my stepfather was my father. Like I used to the point where people like, yo, how's your stepfather? I used to get mad, like, no, that's my pops. Right, that was my father figure. So I used to be angry. Like I'm talking about like heated,
Yeah.
And it was something I never spoke about with my mother, right? It was just one of those topics that I never brought up, and it was just a sensitive topic. Not until like late teens is when I started to ask my mom questions, and I was curious about like what's going down, like until the age of 24. I just met my father recently, like 6-7 months ago.
Wow.
Like for the first time, you know what I mean?
Wow.
And
out here in Seattle?
Nah, I went to go see him, man.
Okay.
So when I was 18 years old, I remember I was in my room. I was in my mom's room, and I was looking at my birth certificate, and I seen nationality Egyptian. And I looked at my mom. I said, I'm Egyptian?
Yeah.
I thought I was Moroccan my whole life, you know what I'm saying?
Wow.
So I looked at my mom. I was like, I'm Egyptian? And she was like, you didn't know? I said, nah, I didn't know, And then from there, I just started like, I'll be looking in the mirror, I'll look in the mirror and I'll be like, damn, like I'm half Egyptian ethnically, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And at this point, I never met my biological. I don't even know how he looked like, you know what I'm saying? Like I never spoke to him. I never seen pictures. Right? It was just one of those things.
Damn.
So this was a big part of my story. The fact that I'm able to talk about it now is a big thing. Yeah. Because my closest homies did not know this part of my story.
Wow.
For the majority of my life, it was one of those things I never talked about.
Yeah. And that's a lot of times it's those moments that you go through, and it takes living life to reflect back on, to kind of process how you would even describe how you feel about it, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think there's like a right time when you can address something that you're still trying to figure out, right? Like you do it on your own time, and so I'm appreciative that you would share that with us too, and for the people, because there's probably a lot of people that do go through this type of stuff.
Relate to it too,
and you sharing that story is gonna impact them, right? And maybe give them a little bit more confidence, if not to talk about it, start thinking about how to talk about it.
100%.
You feel me?
That's important. That's important. Even getting into like the quote you mentioned, you know what I'm saying? Like this is gravity and inspiration, like that's the way I look when I think about that. I think of the word trauma, and for a lot of us growing up in our communities, like we're traumatized.
Yeah.
Right. And especially as young men, we're not taught to talk about our emotions, right? Because we're seen as a square or soft, you know what I mean? Or we get laughed at by the homies, right? So for me, like most of my life, I was on that mindset. I was just like, I'm not gonna talk about my pain. But not until I got into creativity, creative expression, poetry, is when I started to look at, okay, trauma could be a source of inspiration rather than something that holds me back in a negative way. Because a lot of times we're traumatized and we turn to substances to numb the pain, right? Because we don't know know how to deal with it.
And that's kind of the examples we see, right? A lot of times, you see someone going through some shit and you notice, okay, he's doing that to get over it. Okay, well, I probably won't do that. Then you see the next person doing the same thing, and it's like we kind of the perception kind of controls our reality sometimes. What we see.
All like it's because at the end of the day it's all mental. So when you hold that stuff in, that's it could mess you up. You're just like, damn, and then you end up a little lost. But then like you were talking about art. It forces you to it brings that out of you, because you gotta express yourself, So
no,
100%.
That's real. And so I'm glad you shared that, because where you start isn't where you finish, right?
100%, yeah.
And I truly believe that. And I think a lot of people in this room can say that for themselves, right?
Yep.
And people who are listening and watching. Now, you kind of hinted to it when you were able to figure out that, okay, using my expression can be an empowering thing.
Yeah.
Superpower, if you want to call it that, right?
Yeah.
I'm kind of into superheroes a little bit. But, but at what point did you realize, like, okay, I can use my voice as a tool? Because I know you do poetry, you do spoken word, you do all these things. You make music as well. But at what age and at what point in your life did you realize, okay, you know what? This is how I can get through these traumatic experiences that I'm trying to figure out, you know?
Yeah. So when I went to Aki Croce, in South Seattle.
I went there too.
You went to, what year you graduate?
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's been that long?
No, I mean, because I graduated high school, 09, so.
You probably graduated 04 from Aki.
Yeah.
I graduated 07.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so the reason why I brought that up, man, I graduated from Aki, and I remember the summer of my graduation, my mom went into a coma. The doctor gave her medicine she was allergic to, you know? And my mom was diagnosed with muscular dystrophy in 1994, right? And any doctor should know that anybody with a major muscle illness can't take any major doses of narcotics.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even though it was written in her records, you know what I'm saying? It was just like a lazy mistake, a preventable mistake.
That happens a lot.
That happens a lot. And especially in communities, people of color, poverty.
They don't tend to us with the same attention and detail that they do others.
A lot of times it's disrespectful, you know what I mean? Like the way they, like I've been in and out of the hospital, you know what I'm saying, since that time. But I remember it was 2007. My mom went into a coma, right? And I remember I was a funny kid, you know? I was just like, I was weird. I was an introvert in terms of like, you know what I'm saying? Like this is what I would keep to myself. At the same time, I would laugh, right?
Yeah.
I would joke around.
Try to balance it out.
I'll try to, I guess I was both, you know? And I believe you could be both, right? But I remember I would be sitting in the ICU, and I got transferred to Franklin High School, you know what I mean? So that at the time I was transferring, right, this is just me and my pops, you know what I'm saying, like my stepfather, right, and he would be at work all day, right? So it was to the point where I had to, you know what I mean, like get everything together on my own. I didn't have nobody cook for me or anything like that, but I'll be sitting in the ICU, right, every night, right, and I would see a tube going down my mother's throat, right, keeping her alive, you know what I mean? And for me, I think that was like what the hell? At that time, I didn't really process. I didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
But it was to the point I would be in the middle of a class and I would have these chest pains. I would be in the middle of like math class or I believe it was like I remember the teacher. It was Mr. Damon. I would be in the middle of his class and then I would have these chest pains and it would be hard for me to breathe. And to this day, I still have those attacks. It was like panic attacks, you know. And I would run out of class and I would go to the nurse's office and I would explain to yo, this is happening. They would just tell me, yo, put your feet on the ground, inhale, exhale. You know, the nurse was just trying to teach me how to breathe. You know, but I didn't tell her where I was going. I didn't know I didn't know what was. I wasn't linking it up until later on in my life.
How to explain it at that age too? It's tough.
Yeah. So you know, and I remember she came out the coma, and then she had a little trach in her neck. They put a trach in her neck, and I was just like, man, you know, like even though the doctor said she wasn't going to survive, right? You know, God, God is the best of planners. You know, she was able to make it out of that situation. But this is around the same time, like it was a CD versus South End, and a lot of my friends were joining gangs, and you know, I was just being exposed to this culture, and for me it's just like so much to process, and you know what I mean? Like there's so much going on right now, you know, and all of this is just trauma just building up inside, right, and then you know it just keep on stacking up on top of each other, right? So she came out of a coma, you know, they was able to take out the trach, and you know, because they have the sip and fluff machine that they use now, where you don't, you know, certain people they you know, they could take that out and just use that machine, right? But after that, like that wasn't even my turning point. Like after that, like I remember I just went like my mom came out of the hospital and I just went like I was just I took a different path, you know. I just you know, and I started kicking in. I started getting I was slinging, and you know, I was just, you know, I was getting caught up in that product environment, right?
For sure.
You know, so you know, I got caught up to the point where my mom would be like, yo, Essam, when are you going to change? You know what I mean? And for me, just thinking like, yo, my mom went through so much in her life already, and I'm putting her through even more, you know.
More, yeah.
And for me, that was just like, man, what the hell am I doing, you know? I'm over here, I'm kicking it with the homies, and my mom is at home, you know, suffering, you know, crying, you know what I mean? Just hope, you know, praying I'll be guided, right?
Yeah.
So I think just because of what I see my mom go through, that made me think like, okay, I gotta get my life together, you know. I gotta you know, do something positive, right? So I started to make some changes, right? And I was like, you know, I'm gonna graduate from high school, even though my teacher said I was not gonna make it, right? I started going to night school, 3:30 to 7:30 after school every other day, and then I was just trying to put in work, and I remember I even had to take the history test my senior year. You're supposed to take that the first few years, you know. I you know, for me, I was just I had years where I had like point something credits or whatever, and I graduated from high school with a 1.5 GPA, bro. Believe it or not, I think I had to get the waiver from the school district, you know what I mean, to let me get 2.0 is minimum, right? So, but I was like, I'm trying to make my mom happy, you know. I put her through so much already, so I want to make her happy, you know what I mean. And that was like literally my main goal, my main inspiration, you know. And I still, you know, I still had habits, you know. I was still slipping up and stuff, but at least I had a goal, you know what I mean. I was like, okay, I want to graduate from high school, you know. So I graduated from high school. I remember she cried too. I walked across that stage, and I remember she was tearing up, you know what I mean. And that was honestly, even driving here, like this next to the stadium, I was like, man, I was nostalgic. I was like, man, you know,
over here,
Stadium. So I was like, man, like I was just thinking about that, you know, like that honestly, that feeling was even bigger than my university graduation. Like that was like the biggest accomplishment to this day. I feel like I've done.
And I want to touch on it because I feel like it's not so much what's going on the surface, right? Like graduation is graduation. It's an academic achievement. Everybody wants it, right?
Yeah.
But what goes into it, that's the shit nobody knows, right? So there's reasons why your mom would cry when you cross that stage, right? For reasons that nobody should know, right?
Yeah,
that's some sacred shit, man. It's real sentimental. It's like I put in a lot of work that y'all don't know, right? For the average person, they look at high school like, I know I'm gonna finish high school, but not everybody goes through the certain experiences you go through,
100%,
or the certain experiences other people go through while they're trying to finish something that is just, you know, an easy task to the next person based on how they grew up in their environment. So I'm glad you talk about that, man. I'm glad you're talking about the early upbringing and kind of what shaped you. So at what point did the art come into play? So
I mean, art was always a part of my life.
Yeah.
Like, especially growing up in our communities, you know, we like hip hop is a huge influence in our lives. You know what I mean? It's like it's just that's our culture, right? And for me, I was always like this freestyling and writing for fun, you know. But I remember the first piece I wrote. I was in high school. I was like 16 years old or something like that. I was like probably like 16. Like it was like a 16 bar or whatever. I wrote it to a beat, and I remember I put my homie to the side, my bro Ipsa. You know, I put him to the side, and I was like, yo, listen to this real quick. And I spit to him the piece, and the piece was about how I felt about like my father experience. You know what I'm saying? And then I turned off the beat and I just kept it pushing, you know. But like, we didn't really talk. It was kind of awkward. It's like, what the? But I thought you was my bro. I didn't know, you know what I'm saying? And I remember that feeling though. It felt like the weight of the world was lifted off of my chest.
Just getting that out.
You know, it felt good.
Yeah.
And I remember like vividly, I was like, yo, and I remember I talked to him, we laughed about it like years later. I was like, you remember that time, bro? Yeah, because I got more, after that experience, I became more comfortable in talking about my experiences through creative arts, you know? But I wasn't taking this, I was making music and stuff, you know, I was just for fun and stuff, freestyling, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, I had like an older homie who put me on, and, you know, he would take me to a little trap studio, put a blanket over our heads, and we would just record, you know? And I'll be doing, you know what I'm saying? Like,
get it done.
Yeah, I was doing it for fun, and then I transferred to Seattle Central. I remember when I graduated from high school, I was like, you know, I'm gonna give college a try. I went to Seattle Central, and I took the compass test. And
wait, what's the compass test for those people that don't know?
The compass test is just a placement test. You take it, and then it'll place you into classes, right?
Gotcha.
And I placed into ESL, right? And I was like, hold up. Bro, English is the only language I know. You feel me? I don't even know my mother's tongue.
Damn.
Wow.
Right?
You know what's crazy? They try to do that to me at Aki too. My mom was like, "What?" She's like, "All you do is speak English anyway." She's
Exactly.
Like, yeah.
It's janky, you know?
It'd be janky, bro. I know what you mean.
But that dismotivated me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This guy's laughing, bro. It's cold, bro.
Yeah.
But I'm also, it's over, bro. I didn't even go for a quarter, bro. I said it's over,
Yeah.
bro. I'm done, bro.
That's crazy.
I'm done, you know.
Yeah.
And then, but now I did it again, and I placed into English 101, right? Winter quarter, right? And then I remember my first quarter I took English 101, and I remember like one of the assignments was like it was just a personal narrative, whatever, and I wrote about my story, and it felt good. I was like, yo, I'm actually doing something in school that I like to do. Right? I'm not like failing math and being told I'm not gonna succeed in life because I'm not good at math.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm doing something I like, right?
Yeah.
So just from there, I'm like, oh, this is dope. You know what I mean? So throughout this time, there was a studio at Seattle Central, right? So I took advantage of it. Like literally, I had a little Jansport backpack with like empty CD to burn and instrumental CD player.
Ready.
You know, it was like 2011.
Starter pack. That's a starter pack right there.
Yeah.
I was still rocking CD players in 2011, even though that was more old school.
wow.
You know,
Hey.
it was just
Wow.
you know, it was dope. You know, and I had a pen and a pad. I used to be in the studio. I used to get all the homies to come to the studio at Seattle Central, just record. Right. So now I was doing this for fun, and I was doing performances and stuff. Right. So
Yeah.
So at this point, it's still fun. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
for sure.
I'm just doing this for fun. Right. It's
Yeah.
passion. It's something I
Yeah.
love. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then it was dope just being in the studio. Like I remember recording my first track. Like it just felt good. You know. I was like,
How was it hearing your voice for the first time? Because for some people that might be the last time they record some shit.
Yeah, it was cool. It was dope. I don't know, man. It was just like I fell in love with it, man.
Yeah.
It was
or like even seeing people react to your voice.
Yeah.
Like damn, that's dope.
Yeah.
I did that.
Yeah, you're like, you know,
it was like a drug.
That's dope.
I wasn't filthy, you know what I'm saying? I was like,
Yeah.
I love doing it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, but that's
how it gotta be.
Yeah, it starts off
That's
with
where it
just the
starts.
hustle and the grind and
Yeah.
the grit to just do it.
Exactly.
And you'll learn how to do it and get better over
Yeah.
time. But
Yeah, definitely. You know, just from there, just performances and stuff. And I graduated from Seattle Central, and then I transferred to UW Bothell. And it was like my last quarter of UW Bothell. It was like in 2016. I graduated with Dissalam as well the same year. Shout out my guy, man.
yeah.
But that last quarter, I recorded with my bro. Shout out Petty Pro. That's my brother, man. We recorded "The West Is My Home." That was like the first piece that like official piece that I recorded, and I remember
What year was this?
this is like in 2016.
Okay.
Right, it was like January 2016 when I
Yep.
recorded this is like in the shed with like spider webs, and you know
Yeah,
I had to hold the mic.
Paint the picture, man.
You know what I mean?
People think it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
plush studios.
I know.
But a lot of
Yeah.
times the greatest creations come from
Crazy,
you
bro.
know?
Yeah.
We was in his. Nobody knows this, right? But if you listen to the piece, I think it hit like 80,000 recently. But if you listen to the piece, nobody ever caught this. Nobody knows. But at the first verse, you know when there's the fire alarm when you need to change it.
Yeah.
It goes
Oh, it's
beep.
a little beep. Yeah,
The first verse, you could hear that.
Wow.
Right?
Oh,
This is my
that's
first time
funny.
talking about it, actually,
Wow.
bro. You never heard that, right?
I'm gonna go back and listen to it.
Yeah,
now.
so
me too.
there's like it's very subtle, you know,
Yeah.
because it was in my bro's grandmother's upstairs, you know, and I went off and we recorded the rest in the shed, you know. But I thought that was like, I was like, just leave it there. It was cool, you know.
Yeah.
It was just like, as a matter of fact, we didn't even talk about it until later on. Like we both noticed it, we just
Yeah.
didn't mention it. We was like, it's whatever, you know. But I recorded the piece, and in I think it was like in May. My bro Jama Wakawala, you know, Jama, my guy Jama.
Yeah.
We can't, you know, we were like, yo, let's do a video to this piece, and I put out the call on Facebook. It was like a week before the video shoot. Nobody ever heard the track at this point, you know.
Yeah.
And I told everybody, yo, come through video shoot, Rainier and Graham at 3 p.m. That was the time, right? The Mexican taco truck right there, you know.
up.
I said pull up, and nobody heard the track, so I'm like, yeah, I don't know who's gonna pull up, whatever. Man, that day, bro, like all the homies from the hood came through. Cats drove out from Portland. Like it was like, if you see the
Wow.
video,
Yeah.
bro, it's just
I
like,
see it. The
Yeah, I
video
seen
had
it.
it had
Yeah.
a lot of
Hella
people in there.
people.
Yeah, a
Hella
lot of people in
people.
there.
and it was love, but they didn't even hear the track before. You know, it was just community support,
Off
bro.
the strength, man.
You know, so and
That's real.
I dropped that video, and this was my last quarter at University of Washington Bothell, and it was a dope feeling, man. Like I remember everybody was playing it in the school, and you know it was getting a lot of attention, right? And I think from that video, a lot of doors opened for me. I got my first international gig off of that video.
Wow.
That's how Malaysia happened.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. How did Malaysia happen, bro? That's crazy.
So it was I think it was October 2016. I don't know how I remember these dates, man, but it was just so significant for me, you know.
You can't forget. You can't forget that.
I believe that was the date, if I don't remember correctly. But I remember it was in 2015. I was on a trip to Malaysia, with my bro, linked up with my bro, CDQ. Who does a lot of my videos now, and he's a beatboxer. He be making beats for me too. I went to go visit him because he's originally from Malaysia, and I heard this festival. I saw my favorite artists on the lineup, like Amir Sulaiman and a bunch of other artists. And I told him, I was like, yo, and I happened to be in Malaysia at the same time that festival was happening. It was called the Ilm Arts Festival, right? It was like the largest gathering of Muslim artists from around the world, you know?
Wow.
And I told him, I was like, yo, let's go to this event right here, you know? And then we put up to the event. And I was so inspired, bro. Like, it was visual arts and poetry and like hip hop artists. And it was like a bunch of different artists. I was so inspired. I remember I told myself, I said, next year I'm going to be on that stage. You know what I mean? I didn't know how.
Do it.
Right?
Power to the universe, bro.
Crazy, bro.
Power to the universe.
And then from there, what's that called? I went back to school, UpNUp, doing my Dougie. Became an event organizer. I wanted to do something like that event, you know? And then I met some artists on that lineup, right? And then I applied for a grant, UpNUp, and I got a $30,000 grant from UpNUp.
Damn.
You know what I mean? So I was like, yo, $30,000, bro, it's over. It's going down, you know?
Let's make it
so,
move. Let's
and
make it happen.
I started bringing out some of the artists I met. I brought like Brother Ali, from the States, and a bunch of other artists, One Below, underground hip hop artists from the States, and from there, just just networking, you know what I'm saying?
For sure.
And then that next year, after 2016, I graduated, dropped the West in my home, and I got a call from the organizer, right? And he was like, "Yo, I seen the video. You trying to come out to Malaysia?"
Damn.
And I
The power, man. The power of social media.
Yo, that's crazy.
Yeah, I was like 23 years old. You know what I mean? And I remember I was like obviously, I gotta keep it professional. I said, yes, of course, I said, yes,
Hell yeah.
I'm interested, but man, I remember I was excited, man. That was like the dopest experience ever, and especially like just meeting like just the artists on the lineup and everything. Like the whole experience within itself was crazy, It changed my whole position in life and like my vision in terms of what I want to achieve, right? Yeah, so that's how Malaysia came about.
That's crazy.
So so the international moves are real when it comes to music, right? And I think there's a lot of artists that watch this show or listen to this show or follow the platform and see that we've had artists up here. We had Jarv D, right? He's from Seattle as well. And he talked a lot about how him working with Higher Music with Jay Park allowed him to go travel overseas to go do shows. And that's when he realized the impact of hip hop, like the real true impact of hip hop, to where you're like, okay, it's not just popping in the States. Yeah. Right? I can actually make money. I can actually make impact outside of the States. So for the artists out there, like, talk about why it's important for them to maybe expand into different markets internationally, or try to at least.
Yeah. A lot of the times, a lot of the times, we get too comfortable, you know what I mean? For me, making that move, right, going out to Malaysia, right, before I was even on that stage, for me, that's a networking move. You know what I'm saying? So the fact that I was like, yo, let's go to this event. We went to that event. Had I not went to that event, you know what I'm saying, that year, you know what I'm saying, would I be at the on the lineup a year later?
Exactly.
Probably not. You know what I mean? Who knows? You know what I'm saying? But a lot of the times, right, a lot of people be like, yo, traveling is expensive. How you always traveling? This, that. Bro, I promise you, I be coming back with more money when I travel. I save more money when I'm overseas. You know what I'm saying? Right? Just because you're on a budget and you just gotta you know what I'm saying? So,
for sure.
Yeah, so couch surfing and whatever. But for me, a lot of the opportunities come up from making it happen. You know what I'm saying? Like going out there and securing the bag for like a year later or 5 years from now. You know what I mean? Like I'll go make a relationship with an organizer in another country. You know what I'm saying? I'll meet people, and then every time I traveled, I've always met somebody who introduced me to somebody else, right? And then and it just came from me just like going out there, right? And opportunities will come up later. Like I'll be invited to an event later on. You know what I mean? Just like even like December, I have a 5-city UK tour. You know what I mean?
Damn.
The end of this month, and I don't think this tour would have came about if I didn't go to the UK a few months ago and linked up with the bros who are organizing the event. You see what I'm saying? So it's things like that, right? And I meet these bros through like my homies from what I'm saying that I've worked with in the past. You know what I mean? So like I could just stay in the city, right, and just do Seattle shows, right? But for me it's like that's not enough. I can't rely on
the world is so much bigger.
There's a ceiling to that.
So much
you know what I mean?
So much bigger.
Like Seattle is Seattle, you feel me? But the world is like, look at how many gigs you could get all over the world. You know what I mean?
And then the fact that you went, you know what I mean, that first time, and you're just like, I'm about to be on that stage. You're holding yourself to accountable. So you're like speaking it into existence.
Yep.
And you're thinking it into existence the whole time. So you might not be noticing, but you're working towards that the whole time. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
So man, that's dope.
You got to open your mind to what's possible too, man. Like that's the thing. I think, and that's the question I wanted to ask you too. Is like, do you care that you get more love overseas than you do in the own city that you're from? Does it bother you, or is it something that you're kind of like, you know what? At the end of the day, I'm making impact.
Yeah.
How do you see that?
I think there's a negative mindset, right, where we'll be like, I ain't getting no love in my city. You know what I'm saying? But in reality, bro, you wouldn't be where you're at today if it wasn't for your city, right? You could say that your city got the biggest haters, ain't nobody want to see you win. Yeah. But in reality, bro, like for me, when I look at like my city, if I wouldn't be in the position I am today if it wasn't for my city. They're the ones who pushed me to where I'm at right now.
They built you up.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right? So like for me, it's like, and I just looked at my algorithms on my recent video, not this one, the one before this, YouTube, they show you algorithms on
for sure.
who watches your video the most.
Yeah.
Majority of the people that watch my videos are in the UK. I had no idea. You know what I mean? And besides Seattle, I don't think anywhere else in the U.S. really listen to my work, right? Had I not made that network in the U.K., then I would not even have that following who's pushing my work. You see what I'm saying? And so that kind of goes back into the first question as well. You know what I'm saying? And every time I've done the show, like I'll get like my like, you know what I'm saying, like, just from that, that's how you build it. That's how you build the support system.
Yeah, for sure.
When people get to meet you directly and hear your story firsthand. You know,
people put people on, man.
Right.
It's not just the brand. It's not just the product.
Exactly.
It's the people behind the product.
Yeah. When you meet people, that's when you build that relationship with. Because a lot of times people just judge you based off of 3-minute video. But I'm not that 3-minute video. You know what I'm saying? My story, my life is a lot deeper than that. You know what I'm saying? So when you actually go out there and you're doing, you know what I'm saying, shows and stuff in other parts of the world, that's how you're constantly building that brand, right?
So. I mean, it goes back to what you were saying too about the like your first video when you was like, oh yeah, my video's gonna be over here 3:00, whatever, pull up. And you're like, I don't even know who's gonna pull up. Next thing you know, everybody pulls up. You're like, damn,
crazy.
They show me love.
You never know. You never know who's watching. You never know who's watching, man.
100%.
We live in that era now with social media. Like, you never know who's watching.
100%.
Right?
Even going into the same, like, a lot of people, like, they define, okay, this is how many followers this guy has on Facebook or Instagram.
Yeah.
In reality, that's not your followers, bro. Exactly. That's not the people who support. Like, I've met, like, little 3-year-old kids. Yo, Essam, you know what I'm saying? They don't got no Instagram. You know what I mean? Like, we think, like, we think, okay, you know what I'm saying? This, but some of the dopest artists I know don't even got social media. You know what I'm saying? Like, to even go to that extent, right? But like you said, you don't know who you're impacting, right? At the end of the day, That's like real. It's not based on, I got 20,000 followers, I'm impacting 20,000 people. 19,000 of those people could be hanging on you, right?
Yeah.
But
so you was talking. Oh, hey, you were talking about the international shows. I kind of want to get back to that. Your first show, bro. Yeah. Like, what's going through your mind, bro? Like, what are you thinking? Like, what are you feeling, bro? Like, you know.
And you don't even speak the language.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. In the language, you're like, I don't even know if everybody's gonna understand my shit. So
crazy.
How was that?
Before I got on stage, right, I do this thing before I perform, right? But I just sit down. I don't want to talk to nobody. You know what I mean? I mean, if you talk to me, I'm gonna talk to you, right? But for the most part, I'd rather just be by myself. I was sitting down, right? I knew I was about to go up soon. And then I was sitting down and I was just reflecting, just kind of like just focusing on my breathing. I'm nervous as hell, you know what I mean? So, I was just sitting there, and I just started tearing up, bro. I just started like bawling. Like, I'm like, whoa, it just kind of came out of nowhere.
Tears of joy.
Hit you, yeah.
Maybe tears of joy. I don't know what kind of tears it was, right? And I remember. and just kind of reflect on it. It was like, yo, my whole life led up to this moment right here. And right after that, my bro Faisal Saleh, you know what I'm saying? Like he saw me. He's my bro, Somali brother from the UK, dope vocalist. He's coming for my album release too to host the event from London. Yes, sir. You know, he gave me a hug. You know, he was like, yo, man, you know what I'm saying? And then they called my dad like Essam Muhammad, and everybody, you know. And I walked on stage, and I just started spitting, you know. Yeah. And no, that was that. You know, it was a very emotional experience for me. You know, because I invested so much, you know, time and emotion into this art right here. Yeah. And it's crazy because a lot of the times, bro, like in Malaysia, like everybody speaks English, bro. Everywhere you go in the world, people speak English, you know. So like the language barrier, I never found that. Much. You know, I don't think anywhere I've been. You know, I ever had, even when I went to Cambodia, you know what I'm saying? Like, even though I couldn't speak the languages of the locals, the body is a tongue and it speaks its own dialect, you feel me? So I was able to interact with the locals, you know what I mean? So even if, you know, somebody didn't speak English, I was still able to interact with them, right? So you know, I don't think, like, language was ever a barrier for me, you know what I mean?
Man.
Yeah.
That's dope. Isn't it crazy what just kind of what art in itself, but expression and hip-hop and man, hip hop is dope, bro. Yeah. Like, look where it takes people, man. You know what I'm saying?
Crazy.
And it all starts with trying to find a way to use your voice, right? And I think that's the biggest thing I'm taking right now. It's like you find a way to use your voice as a tool, right? Excuse me. Some people use their voice as a tool that's detrimental to them, whereas you used it as a way that can be beneficial to you. And I think, man, that's inspirational, man. I love hearing that, man. I need to travel more, man.
Now, man, I recommend it, man. Yeah, bro. Traveling is beautiful, man. I learned so much, man. This, you know, stepping out the country, bro.
Yeah, man.
Like, this past year, I've been out the country like a good portion of the year, like at least 4 months. You know what I mean? Just country hopping. And you know the thing, we're in the States, so we think like, damn, I gotta go overseas. When you're in Europe, for example, right? Every country like is close to each other, so it's like a 2-hour train ride to go from Netherlands to Belgium. Yeah, right. Everything is close, or $100 ticket to go to the UK or whatever. Everything is close. Yeah, right. Even like the recent video, the video I just dropped. Yeah, I had no intentions of that video coming out, right? Really? Like, or even recording that track. But I was in Italy. You know, my pops got diagnosed with cancer, you know what I'm saying? So I went to go visit him in Italy, in Milano. That's where he was living, right? And I met him in Egypt for the first time. It was like 6 months before that, right? And I was in Italy like 2 months ago, whatever. So I went out to Italy. I was in Milano chilling with my pops, whatever. And then the bro Sabik, I never met this dude before, right? He's from Switzerland. He was like, yo, Essam, bro, I found out you was in. I see on your Instagram you're in Milano, bro. I'm 2.5 hours away. I'm in Switzerland. I could come scoop you up. You know, I said, hell yeah. Come scoop me up, bro. Yeah, so he scooped me up. He took me to the studio, and we recorded the piece, and then, you know, we did the video right before I cut out, right? So yeah, man.
And for the people who want to go check out that video and check out the song, where can they find it?
Just YouTube, the YouTube channel. If you search Essam, ESSAM, and search West Is My Home. My YouTube, the video's gonna pop up, and then my YouTube channel's on there. I got all my videos, and I got videos that are on other people's YouTube channels as well. And so I want to give a chance for you to kind of speak to the album 12/12, which is dropping this month on 12/12, right? Yep. So talk about the title. Where does the title derive from, and then what can people expect from this album, man? So 12/12. Dropping on 12/12, $12.12. You feel me? On certain platforms, I know they don't got that option for iTunes and Spotify, right? But
straight up,
I think Bandcamp is $12.12. I said 12/12 a.m. Right? That's the time to drop. I just went ham with the 12/12. But. So
I'm gonna wear a Seahawks jersey. 12. Download that shit.
Yeah. But man, bro. So 12/12, man. Originally, the album was gonna be titled Ummi, which is an Arabic word for my mother, right? But I wanted to drop on my mother's birthday, which is 12/12, right? 12/12/18 is her birthday, right? So I was like, you know, I don't want to give a direct meaning, you know what I mean? So I don't want to say Ummi and, you know, everybody, right? So I was like, let me just name it 12/12, because I feel like even though I'm a product of my ancestors, you know what I'm saying? My ancestors survived and been through it just for me to be here today. I'm a direct impact of my mother's story, right? And she was born on 12/12, You know what I mean? All right. So for me, that's just the significance of that day, and I'm dedicating it to be. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for my mother. Right, if it wasn't for the sacrifices she made, you know what I mean, and she's my number one supporter, you know, when it comes to my art, right?
That date is significant, man.
Yep.
That date, man, that's dope. I'm glad you explained that. So where can people find this album, or what can they expect from it in regards to, like, what are you most excited about?
Man,
like how would you describe it in one way? If you could say this is I know it's a lot of layers probably to it, but what type of vibe are you trying to give off with this album?
You know, so it's like a milestone. You know what it is? So in this album, you know, just growing up in my community, a lot of violence, you know what I'm saying? And I've dealt with, you know, losing loved ones close to me, you know, their lives lost from violence, you know what I mean? And that's like one of the topics that I discuss a lot, right? Just from like interacting, right? I use a concept. There's a song titled "Headphones in the Pavement," right? Like, imagine if the paved roads that we walk on every day, if they could speak, what kind of story would it tell you, right? So I wear my headphones in the pavement, listening to the sounds of the streets. That same paved roads witnessed the first interaction I had with my friend, to the last conversation I had with him, right? To have an interaction with his mother, right, after he passes away, and her not being able to have a conversation with me because I remind her of her son. So she would walk away and she cries. The streets, the paved roads witness all of that. You see what I'm saying? So for me, a lot of this album, you know what I mean, it reflects just, you know, trying to mourn death and you know, just this anger at the frustrations. You see like a whole, from the beginning to the end, there's like it calms down throughout the end of the album. It's more, at first I'm just like, yo, F the system, this, that, you know, I'm just mad, angry, you know, young in this front line, whatever. But, you know, I started, you know, and it gets more calm, you know what I'm saying?
So it's like a healing, it's like a healing project.
It's healing, exactly.
It's healing, okay.
You know, and it ends with like a dedication to my mother, a track dedicated to More Happy, you know what I'm saying? But and it starts off with just like this, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I like that though. I love albums that have kind of a story arc.
It's a journey, you know.
You know what I mean?
I didn't even intend that. You know what I'm saying?
But sometimes the greatest creations come just from places that you can't explain once they're done. They're like, how'd you do that? You're like, honestly, I don't know.
Like, I didn't mean it, and it just happened. You know what I mean? So it becomes like authentic in a way.
Exactly.
Like, it's just, that's what it is. You didn't even have to think about that. It just came out. You
That's
know?
dope, man.
Yeah.
That's dope, man.
No, 100%, man.
Now, man, before we get you out of here, because I know you're a busy guy, you know, we had a couple rappers up here, and actually we had one. We had a few rappers up here, and then, you know, they dropped some bars and stuff, you know, and I was like, that's cool, you know, the bars were cool, but I always want the next rapper to kind of top the last rapper when it came to these bars, you know what I'm saying? So if you can, bro, you know, maybe give us a little something.
Yeah.
You know. I can't rap, otherwise I would try to start you off.
I got y'all. It goes. This piece is titled Inspiration. All right. Going into the quote you mentioned earlier, right?
For sure.
It goes, now for a minute I've been looking for some inspiration. I got my pen, I got my pad, I write with dedication. You see this poetry, my medication. I ain't a doctor, but I work on patience. I've been reflecting on my life, who I be around. I think it's time for me to ghost. You won't hear a sound. If you want to make a come up, gotta settle down. Protect your soul when you fight to your last round. And they gon' ask how. And I'ma tell them I deserve this, cause I've been working. I put my trust in Allah, cause that's the first thing. I've been looking for some guidance, forever searching. You see, I'm traveling to find out what is my purpose. And best believe I'm about to climb out this hole I'm in. Coming at the trenches, we've been struggling to find some ends. But I'ma make it meet. Riding with that summer on his waist, he could feel that heat. Never taught a different type of life, he only know the streets. His heart was warm, but now it's colder than the wintertime. Stressing, really trying to be that star, but you can't force it shine. You say you want to make it far, but are you really trying? It goes, grinding, I'm moving silence, but I'ma tell her how I see it. There is no surprises. Money don't mean you hit the top, cause there is something higher. I'm so inspired. Working with these youngins, there is so much I acquire. I don't rock no Gucci, come on Koofy, it be flyer. I been about my business, I ain't looking to get hired. Never working for the man, I wear my own attire. Now I'm in demand, I'm always praying to inspire.
Damn.
Damn. I like that. I like that.
bro.
I like that. We just got a free performance right here, man. Appreciate that, dog.
No, I appreciate y'all, man.
I'm
Let
inspired,
me get next,
man.
though.
What you got? Come on. How you gonna top that?
I'm playing. Hell no.
Thank you for sharing that, man.
No, I appreciate y'all, man.
You know, we just like to vibe out here sometimes.
Yeah.
Now, before I get you out of here, I always ask this question.
Hold on. I got a question too.
Cut me off, dog.
Yeah, man. You know, I got to do it
Yeah,
sometimes.
go ahead.
But, what are your top 5 countries you've been to?
Ooh,
Top
that's a good
5
question.
countries.
3 or 5, it don't matter. You pick.
I think I think number 1. This is a hard one, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I'm not even gonna give you the order because I can't even think.
Yeah,
All
of
right,
the
no,
order.
Just
no
throw
order,
five
bro.
out,
Throw
throw five
out
out
5.
I think South Africa
Mm-hmm.
was one. South Africa. Talking about all these countries is going to my head,
Yeah.
bro. The UK.
Mm-hmm.
Nah, let me scratch that. Sorry to my UK peoples, man. It's too similar to the US, you know.
Yeah.
All right, so I think South Africa was dope. I mean, I can't even think of nothing. Man.
I feel like there's hella shit going through your mind right now. I can just see it. It's like,
In this
like
moment,
trying
in
to-
this moment, I guess you can say because it's never. Like,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. It
I
changes.
think I wouldn't say it was my top. I think Belgium was a dope experience just because I seen hella Moroccans out there. You know what I mean? I didn't grow up around Moroccan. I grew up around like East Africans, Southeast Asians, Islanders. So I think Belgium was a dope experience. I saw like the slums and the Moroccans, you know, was living in the slums out there. It was dope.
Yeah.
South Africa was a beautiful experience in terms of like the nature, the beauty. You know what I mean? And there was so much inspiration.
Yeah, I
just
heard
came
it's
out of
very
that.
beautiful out there.
Beautiful, man.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
people
yeah.
are amazing. And I'll say like. I can't even say that, man. Man, bro, you know I'm
cool.
gonna.
All right,
cool.
to be
Leave
continued,
that
to be
too.
Let me
continued.
just say Switzerland, bro. So,
right,
yeah,
yeah,
Switzerland was beautiful,
hey,
bro.
Hey, you know a man's traveled, well traveled.
What?
You can't even name
That's what I'm
5
saying,
that
bro.
You've
Yeah.
been to that. So
I can tell you're trying to think of all the
Yeah.
experiences all
Yeah.
at once. And you're just like, damn, I don't
Hey.
even know.
Hey, Malaysia was dope too, though. Malaysia has a place in my heart.
Oh, yeah.
Cambodia,
Yeah.
even, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I learned
Yeah.
so much on the Cambodian trip, you know what I'm saying,
Yeah.
in Cambodia, right? So,
Yeah.
so Cambodia, Malaysia, Switzerland, Belgium, South Africa, man.
Cool. We got
Yeah.
5 right
Stay.
there.
we ain't stopping.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
plenty more to come. Plenty
Yeah.
more to come. You gonna take us with you, bro?
Nah,
What's up?
straight
Can
up,
we
man.
do something?
Hey, we up and up, but
Yeah, man.
anywhere y'all want to
Hell
go,
yeah.
man. Come
What's
on.
up, man?
Yeah,
Up and
yeah.
up. We gonna do a live show in Malaysia. What's
Hey,
up?
man. Hey, we could go.
Tell your peoples, man. We'll come out there.
We could go to the UK, man. You know what I'm saying? If you want, bro, we could go out to the UK. I got people out there, you know,
That's what I'm
artists and
saying.
stuff.
I
You
never
guys,
been there.
and
Hey.
honestly, I think
Hey.
it would be a dope experience. You know what I'm saying?
Real shit. And I
Right,
heard I
man.
got family out there too. So
I got family out
you
there
know.
too.
That's the best,
So
bro.
we're doing it. We're doing
You guys
it.
gotta travel. If you got family
Yeah.
somewhere, couch hopping, you chilling. No
Yeah,
hotel.
I'm
The
not
hotels is the
tripping.
worst part. You know?
Hell yeah.
All right, so
Yeah.
y'all heard it here live, man. Essam and the Up and Up. We're gonna come to UK.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah,
Shout out
straight
to
up,
y'all.
man.
We're gonna speak it into existence,
No,
right?
you already know,
Mm-hmm.
bro.
Now, last question I'm gonna ask you, and I ask this for every guest, is something to kind of wrap up the show, but also for us to kind of cast what's ahead for you.
Yeah.
So if you can, my brother, what's one word to describe what keeps you on the up and up?
Faith.
Mm.
Yeah.
Go ahead. You could explain it too if you want.
Man, spirituality, faith
Mm-hmm.
has been like. I remember I used to ask my mom like why we poor, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like you know why we poor for, and she used to tell me, and I remember vividly. Right, we're not poor, we're rich, right? Because richness is in your heart, richness is in faith,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Right, so, and I even say these lines, and now I gotta grind hard till we all straight. When me say you rich, son, if you got faith. You can't know ease if you don't know heartache. And love is so sweet if you only knew the taste. You know, so that's something that stuck with me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Gems, man.
Hell yeah.
You dropping jewelry around here,
I
man.
appreciate y'all, man.
sir.
Nah, man. Thank
Yeah.
you for coming to the show, fam.
No, thank
This
y'all,
is-
man.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate y'all,
Yeah,
man. For
man.
real, I
Appreciate
appreciate
you,
it.
bro.
No,
Appreciate
definitely,
y'all,
man.
This
Yeah.
shit is inspiring, bro.
Yeah,
Like, you
man.
know,
And
it's
these
another
stories,
chance to hear that, bro.
Yeah, these
You know what I mean?
stories-
Straight up, man.
these stories matter, man. You know, everybody got a story, and I hope this this episode, this dialogue, this story allows you to have a deeper connection with your supporters,
Yeah.
people that already support you, as well as people who just got introduced to you
Yeah.
from this show. So thank you for coming to the show,
Yeah,
and
for sure.
you know, we wish you much success.
Yeah.
Make sure y'all go cop that 12/12 album.
Much love, man.
Dropping on 12/12. Catch it
Yeah.
on all platforms. Catch him at your local. Well, I mean, he's overseas, so man, I don't know.
All major platforms, man.
Okay.
Yeah, man. Follow my man on Instagram.
Yeah, Mass 139, man.
Yes, sir. Follow him on Instagram and UK. We coming, man.
Yeah,
UK,
coming to the UK, man. Come on.
We coming. With that being said, man, I think it's safe to say Essam Muhammad is a member of the UpNUp.
Yeah.
Much love, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, my brother.
Hold it down, man.
Yes,
Come on.
sir. Yes, sir.